Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I'm George. We're all George. So welcome to another Market Open stream. Today, of course, I have to talk about this big and major Bitcoin move that's imminent. So what's happening? What's going to cause this? Well, let's discuss what else is going on in the world of crypto and the world of markets today. So let's do this. Welcome, guys. Good morning. We are minutes away, actually 1 minute away from the market bell. U.S. market today looks kind of iffy right now. It's looking like it's going to start in the red, but that's okay. That's okay. It's probably going to turn. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know for sure if today's going to turn because we got some bad economic data once again. However, that bad could be good. And good could be bad, so it's really hard to say at this point in time. And there is the market bell, the best bell in the industry, right there. Still going strong. So what am I talking about? Well, someone like Lowe's offers soft sales outlook, meaning that they're not so sure how the remainder of this year will be, right? So we have a lot of earnings that came out this week. And, these companies, they actually did pretty well. Their earnings for Q4 was actually pretty good. But they're not so sure how this year is going to be. So they're all giving like weak or soft outlooks. So that's not good today. But this also is not good, but also good. Here's the thing. We're in this paradox right now where bad news equals good news. And vice versa. And sometimes bad news is just bad news. And sometimes good news is... So sometimes you just can't tell. Mortgage demand drops to 28-year low. If you think about that, that's horrible, right? That's because people don't want to get a new mortgage right now because the rates are closing in at 7%, right? So that makes sense. But why this is good is because this is one of the criteria Powell's looking at. Powell says he wants to see real estate come down. He wants to see housing come down, rentals come down. And so far, these things have not. So, again, this could be seen as a good thing by markets because Powell wants to see this. Yeah, so there's that. So, or we go get a soft landing. I don't know. Hopefully Powell can pull through, but it's looking hard. It's looking hard. Especially since, well, let's give Powell the benefit of the doubt. Let's just put it that way. Okay, so we're starting out with some good and bad economic news, both. Okay, both. But this is also good. But is it good or bad? See, this is what I'm saying. It's hard to tell. China's factory activity grows to nearly its highest point in 11 years. That's awesome, right? Why is this awesome? Because production is increasing. That means supply chain issues are dissipating, and that means there will be more items coming out, right? Coming out to your local Lowe's or Walmarts or Targets of the world, Amazons of the world, right? So that's good. And why this is also good is because as more products come out, it should help bring prices down. So this is actually one of those good things. Good news equals good for markets, rather than those last two where it's like the inverse relationship, right? So this is absolutely fantastic. But what's more fantastic short term is this. So if you look at what these central banks are doing, let's look at the four major central banks in the world: the Fed, the ECB, the Bank of Japan, and the Bank of China. And you could see that there's two out of Asia that has been buying up assets once again. They implemented quantitative easing once again because they think they need to spur up the economy at this point in time, right? So you could see Bank of Japan start dipping and boom. And then China's following, right? And now many people feel like the ECB and the Fed may follow, even though Powell keeps saying we want to reduce the balance sheet, right? But many people are predicting that may not be the case. that the Fed and ECB will both inject more liquidity into the economy to spur it up. So, if this happens, short term, this is absolutely huge. And some argue the reason why Bitcoin has started coming up is because of the liquidity injection of China, right? Hong Kong, and them turning pro-crypto, so to speak, right? And here, this lays it all together. Well, this is minus the Central Bank of China, but if you look at the Fed, the ECB, and Bank of Japan, the blue line is their liquidity. And you can see when their liquidity goes up, what happens with Bitcoin? It goes up too. So if we start seeing a liquidity injection once again from all major banks, guess what that's going to happen? It's going to drive things higher, right? That's why a major move, right, could be imminent. Now, I say short term because we know long term what the consequences are, and they're not good. Long term, more liquidity injection means more inflation. That means tackling inflation is going to be harder. But many countries, they're weighing their options. They think that injecting liquidity is more important now than reducing inflation, right? Like Bank of Japan just have absolutely no care for inflation right now. They don't care how high inflation goes. They just want to spur up their economy right now. And the same thing with China. They want to kickstart things, right? And increase production. They don't care really about inflation. So if we see all these banks join together and start injecting massive liquidity and buying assets once again, well, that is going to be fantastic. Short term and long term, it's going to be fantastic for Bitcoin because this is the very reason why so many have turned to Bitcoin, because they don't want this to happen. They don't want to see the silent tax of ours increase, buying power of our money decrease over time. Inflation does that. So long term, this is going to help Bitcoin and strengthen its cause, really, because people don't want to see the Fed and central banks go out of control and damage fiats around the world, right? And this is the reason why it's good and it's bad. No, I would say this is the reason why it's good and it's good. If the central banks screw up more and we get more massive liquidity injections, that's great for the market. And long term, it's going to be great for Bitcoin because it just turns more people to Bitcoin. That's simply it, right? And as for Bitcoin, it has jumped up a little bit more than yesterday, right? Overall, crypto market cap have started coming up, right? And here's the thing. Companies are so bullish on the entire industries. Take a look at this headline. Goldman Sachs recently cut 3,200 staff, okay? And so did many other banks, many other tech companies, and companies in general. Even with this massive layoff, guess what they're doing? They're hiring for their crypto department, okay? Because they want to continue exploring blockchain applications, according to Goldman Sachs. Think about that. After they have laid off a massive amount of people, yet they are still hiring for the crypto department. That is how bullish companies and banks and financial institutions all are about the prospects of Bitcoin, blockchain, decentralization, Web 3.0, wallets, DeFi, everything that I've been talking about for the last few years. It's absolutely amazing. And what's amazing is our current recovery right now. According to Plan B stock to flow, we are definitely recovering according to plan. According to the last two cycles, you could see the bottom was kind of like that deep green, right? We are definitely bouncing off from that bottom point, and next up, we will surpass the next level, which is around $100,000. It's just a matter of time before we break through that, And then it's just a matter of time. Yesterday I talked about the cycle after that, right? Heading into 2030, that's when Bitcoin will try to break $1 million. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when, not if. Okay, and this is the one I used in my thumbnail, but I think this is a pretty clear explanation of what's happening right now. Right? When you have Bitcoin on a longer scale, this is the monthly scale, going all the way back to the beginning. When stochastic bottoms out and it crosses over, starts going up, good things happen. And we have these T zones, according to this trader, Terry Grad. Whenever basically you think about these zones, they're basically these wedges. And whenever you break through the trend, right, good things happen, especially on a long-term scale. And why this happens every 4 years is because we have the halving event, which makes Bitcoin even more scarce. Every single halving event makes Bitcoin more scarce. Less is being produced, less is being found, less is being circulated. And it's the only asset we have today that has a finite supply. Nothing else that's considered an investment, really. I take that back. There's, art, paintings, sports cards, maybe. But everything else in terms of commodities or precious metals or equities or bonds or anything else out there, they have an infinite supply versus Bitcoin that has a finite supply, controlled by code, totally decentralized around the world. Not even Satoshi himself could change Bitcoin's code at this point. Think about that, okay? If he came back and he's like, yeah, I'm going to change it, even he does not have the power to do so. It is completely decentralized at this point. And then I just want to show you this lastly for Bitcoin. The number of addresses with at least one Bitcoin, aka Wholecoiners, right, is nearing 1 million addresses. That doesn't mean there's 1 million Wholecoiners because many people have multiple addresses, but still, that number continues to rise. Slowly but surely, but sometimes it rises a lot. You can see when Bitcoin fell down to about 15,000, so many people were panicking, right? So many people, retail investors, panicking. But what you didn't know was that a lot of those people that didn't panic, that didn't say it's all going to hell, they were buying instead. I mean, it's clear that big U-shape, that uptrend happened when Bitcoin went down to 15,000. That is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to buy when other people are selling, when there's blood in the streets. Even if it's your own blood, that's what you got to do. And that's clearly showing what's happening. But now it's slower, but it's still trending upwards. Becoming a Wholecoiner can one day make you a millionaire just by having one Bitcoin. Think about that. Very, very amazing. All right. Outside of this, just a few other news. Solana. You guys know Solana just suffered a pretty bad outage recently. Okay, you could as bad as it can be, I guess. They had to downgrade the software. They had to reboot, and then when that didn't work, they had to reboot again. And finally, it's done. So Anatoly Yakovenko, I think that's how you say it. He outlines what to do in the future. And I hate to say it, but I don't know how upgrades were done before. But the fact that now he's talking about, okay, in the future, before we upgrade, what we need to do is upgrade the testnet first to the new version, see how the testnet reacts, okay? And then repeat the process and stress test the testnet before releasing a new version to the mainnet. I'm looking at this, I'm like, really? That wasn't being done already? What kind of world is Solana and its devs, what kind of world are they living in to just upgrade the mainnet whenever there is a software release? That doesn't happen. Every other chain that I know of, Ethereum does this, Cardano does this, everyone does this. If there's a major upgrade, you upgrade to the testnet, and then you test it, you stress test it, then of course if it works, you move it to the mainnet. That's how it works. Outside the crypto and IT industry, that's what you do. You test, you test, you test, then you deploy, right? The very fact that Solana is now talking about this as if this is a new concept is absolutely ridiculous. It's the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard. Why would you not do this in the first place? Why would you just implement new upgrades in the mainnet and then see how it goes and then cause a whole lot of worry and then downgrade and then reboot when you could have tested in the testnet all along? It's utterly ridiculous considering you have a project that's worth how many billions? 8.5 billion, and how much liquidity locked in, and whenever the network goes down, people cannot withdraw, they can't trade, they can't move, they can't do anything. You know, so this has me fired up a little bit because this really makes me think that the team, especially Anatoly, doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He got lucky that Solana got picked up by SBF and FTX and all the big VC boys. They became a huge powerhouse. Yet they don't even know the fundamentals of how to upgrade their software. I mean, it's mind-boggling that they put this out as what they're going to do in the future as to how to improve network upgrades. Yeah, let's test it on the testnet. Yeah, that's a real wild concept. Why don't we do that first before deploying on the mainnet? That's just crazy. That's just absolutely crazy to me. Anyways, all right. Outside of that, the only other thing, as you guys know, I'm going to be on this show called The Next Crypto Gem. Very excited about it. At first, it was just going to be broadcasted on Bespoke TV, which is already in millions of households. But they, this collaboration have gone beyond. Now, Insight is going to be help distributing it. And Insight is going to distribute this show in 55 countries, in 12 languages. And Insight is also on some of the streaming places like Prime, Amazon Prime, Samsung TV, Rakuten. I mean, this is pretty big. I'm excited. I'm excited about this TV show. I think this could launch crypto into a new era. Just look at what Shark Tank did. This could be something like that too. So I'm looking forward to it. All right. That is pretty much it. Let's do some Q&A. Bitcoin Billy. Yesterday I asked about DeFi. You mentioned DeFi lending as bad. Why? DeFi lending has stayed resilient while centralized lenders went belly up. Yeah, I think you're right. I was thinking about CeFi lending, right? But DeFi lending, the ones that are still operational with like Aave and Compound, and you could say Makers in there and stuff like that. Yeah, they're doing just fine. All right. 23.8, that's not bad. 24,000. Still scrolling. Still scrolling here. All right. Rakuten. I used to say Rakuten, but I know it's like Rakuten. I still hate saying that name. Thoughts on how staking and price will be for a Shanghai upgrade, Matic, ZK EVM? I can't give you a price. I just think both things are very bullish. ZK EVM is the first scaling solution for Ethereum Virtual Machine. It's been talked about now for a while by a few, like Phantom is working on this with their FVM, and I'm sure others are working on it. You know, scaling solutions are great, but EVM itself, the virtual machine that's processing smart contracts, are very slow. ZK EVM is going to solve that completely. So I think it's absolutely huge for Polygon. And as for, you know, ETH adding unstaking, I think that's going to alleviate a lot of fears that you can't withdraw after you stake, right? And it could cause massive amount of people to stake afterwards. It's good. Kenny says I have the best thumbnails. Thank you. Thank you. Although I don't spend too much time on it. I know some people spend a crazy amount of time on it. I still wish I could do better thumbnails. Like Mr. Beast, for example. I think he spends up to like $10,000 per thumbnail, but he also makes millions of dollars with every video. He makes a crazy amount with every video. Dana Way, I'm looking at your avatar picture, your profile picture from far away. Or maybe it is meant to be that. Far away, it looks pretty naughty. If you look at it close, I don't know if it's supposed to be something else, some symbol or something, but just FYI. Do I stake Matic in DeFi? I have a decent amount on Ledger. Any idea the best way to safety stake while keeping custody? Well, I do it through a couple of ways. Well, one, I don't think I do it. I don't have any Matic on Ledger. So I don't know if Ledger has any direct integration, but you know, you could download Matic's own wallet, right? So there's an option there. And then also, of course, a lot of wallets itself has native support. I think like Exodus has support for Polygon staking. Trust doesn't have it yet, which is weird, but so there's wallets out there that also allow it, but like for Ledger itself, I don't believe you can directly stake from Ledger yet, but it's coming. But if you're afraid, right, then just keep it on Ledger. I mean, even though, yeah, it's great to collect these staking rewards, I mean, they're still very little, very small. But it's up to you. What network would Crypto Gem Show be on? I just told you. It's going to be on Insight TV and then also Bespoke TV, which I believe, like if you're in the US, Bespoke, I believe it's on like Comcast and everyone, you know, basically all the TV distributors. And Insight, I think, is just everywhere. I think they're more direct to streaming. So, too late to hop on a BTC train? It's never too late. It's never too late. BTC, it's just a matter of time. Will break through 100K and someday break through $1 million. So if you look at it that way, is it too late? No. But if you're asking what's going to happen day to day or week to week, you know, we may come down. We could go down again. Or we continue back up to 25,000 and surpass it, right? Day to day, week to week, very hard to know. But if you look at the macro conditions of the world, I just got done talking about the possible re-injection of liquidity. That's going to be fantastic if it happens. And long term, as people get fed up about inflation, that's also good for Bitcoin. What do you think about Telos? Nothing really. Telos is built on the code base of EOS, and EOS is kind of dead right now. So I don't see anyone really porting to Telos or utilizing them for their EVM. I know they have it, but I don't hear anyone really talking about it or using it. So I don't know. I don't know. Best wallet on PC? I guess the best wallet on PC, if you're not counting hardware wallets, because hardware wallets, you interact with them through the PC. But if you are talking about hardware wallets, then I'd say Ledger is the best, and then you have Treasure as a second. But if you're talking about like a software desktop wallet, I would say Exodus. But what's better than Exodus is integrating it with a Treasure wallet. They don't integrate it with Ledger yet, but they do integrate with Treasure. That's like the best. Exodus itself, by itself, I'm still wary of it. But I heard over the years they have beefed up the security. But Exodus, you know, a lot of people got hacked before with Exodus. Whether it's through their password recovery or what, I don't know. And I don't know of any other like major desktop wallets. Of course, MetaMask, for example, is a browser wallet that you access through your computer. That's, you know, that's another one. I'm sure there's other wallets I don't know about. Is switching cryptos and wallets something bad? For example, changing Sol into Matic. You're talking about just swapping? No, there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to make sure you have enough to pay for gas fees. That's all. What is the US market at? Market turned green a little bit. A little bit. Coinbase up 2%. Tesla down today. Good. CBC is so damn slow for me. Now everything's turning green. Today could be a good day. Like I said this morning, we barely started red. It could turn green, and I think it will be a green day. What's your opinion on Coinbase Vault? Isn't that the institutional custody? I mean, when it comes to custody service, I think Coinbase is probably the best. You know, they have to be. I don't know anyone else that's better at Coinbase than at storing institutional crypto. Binance will not fall like FTX. The two are not similar in any way. That's like, I don't know why so many people like to spread FUD, including Bloomberg and all these other guys or Forbes that like to write FUD pieces because I guess it gets the views, gets the clicks, but CZ is no SBF and Binance is no FTX. I don't think people realize, because FTX was in the news so much before, but I've always said this, if you look at the trading volume of FTX, it was like 1/10 of Binance, even in its heyday. FTX never had that much volume. People don't realize how big Binance is. It's unfathomable how big they are. It would be equivalency of, FTX would be equivalent of, like, let's say a state bank or smaller bank, okay? A local bank versus the Federal Reserve. That's the difference between FTX and Binance. So this whole notion that they're similar in some ways is ridiculous. Liquidity. I've seen this before. I don't remember what they do. Zero interest loans. Borrow LUSD against ETH. Okay, so they are like a maker DAO. I'm going to say no. Something like that, I have no interest in. Rolling Cabin, I appreciate that. And and you're welcome. Sounds to me that Sol is heading in the right direction. I would say so, but it angers me a little bit that that this needs to be talked about now as a way to improve network operations. Like why would you not be doing this to begin with? You know, like I don't quite get it. I don't quite get it. When reporting staking gains to IRS, do you have to mention each coin, or you can just add them up and give the total amount? No, you're supposed to report each one. That's why if you do trade a lot, or you stake a lot, or you made a lot of transactions overall, it's a nightmare to try to do yourself. You have to use a crypto software, okay, a crypto tax software, and they don't cost that much, right? Like coin tracking, coin tracker. I've played with a lot of them, and they all do the same thing. They will look at your wallet addresses or exchanges, and they will compile all the trades, and then they will print out a tax form for you, and then you use that, and that's it, right? That way you don't have to worry about it. It could be, that tax form could be like 20 pages long. It could be 100 pages long. But imagine trying to do that by hand. It's just impossible. So highly recommended as we're moving into tax season. Yeah, using one of those softwares will make things much easier, And I do have a affiliate link for coin tracking in the description if you want to take a look. Rate GRT. I mean, I don't know. I like them. I think it's great for utility. As for excitement, not so great. Because, I mean, they help projects come up with APIs for data retrieval, but they go beyond that. They also index, kind of like a search engine for dApps and chains, right? But primarily they help create APIs so that the data can be retrieved, which is great for utility. You combine them with Chainlink, that's awesome, but it's not very exciting, right? It's not like they're going to release their own L2. It's not like they're going to release their own DEX, or NFT project, or get into a metaverse game. They're not all about those things at all. They're not going to release their own wallet, So they're not very exciting, but they serve a great purpose. All the tax softwares, they track everything. They don't care about the way they track things. Is not like what you think. Like, oh, how do they know what's a staking reward, what's not, and stuff like that. No, they just look at what you started before and what you ended up with. Okay, so that's kind of how they do it. And if they don't know where it came from, they will assume that it's income, and it's usually right? And if it's not, if it's like an inter wallet transfer, they will see if you have all your wallets hooked up. That's the beauty of it. like the more information you give it, the more complete it is, and you don't have to guess. Now, if it's really like a deposit from an unknown wallet, they won't know what it is, and you could specify what it is. But you know, so it basically looks at everything. So you just plug in your wallet addresses, it'll know. Like if at the beginning of the year you started with 100 ETH, and then at the end of the year you have 102 ETH, right? I'm just using ETH as an example, but it could be anything. It could be Polygon, Avalanche, whatever. Then they'll know 2 is extra and it's income, unless you declare it's not income. I mean, there's a lot of ways, a lot of scenarios, but it just makes things much, much, much easier to calculate. Is ChatGPT token real? No, of course it's not. I don't know where you saw that from, but it's definitely not real. Shahid, what's your thoughts on IOTA? I don't know what to think about IOTA. IOTA is like, start out as like a payment, you know, it's a DAG, very fast and feeless, and now they're transitioning to a L1, and they came out with several chains, several new tokens. They have a testnet chain, they have another chain that's a EVM chain. They're all hooked up to IOTA, and you know, I don't know. They're just making a big move, big direction change, and it could work. They have a huge, I believe they raised a large amount with their ICO, and they have a huge treasury, so they can last for a long time. Outside that, I don't know. I don't really hear much about them recently. They had some big things. They had some big things before, you know, with their kind of like side chains, so to speak, but now I don't really hear much about them. Why does everyone call Matic an L2? Can Matic directly compete? Matic is what I consider L1, L2. Okay. The reason why they're considered L2 is because everything on top of it is EVM compatible, right? So the dApps that run on top of it use Solidity. dApps on top of it use Ethereum Virtual Machine, right? They use the same toolkit, and you know, developer base, it's the same, right? That's why it's sort of like a scaling solution for Ethereum, but it's L1 because they have their own standards, and you know, they have their own ecosystem, stuff like that. So, you know, I call them L1, L2, right? But can Polygon ever surpass Ethereum? The answer is no, because they depend on Ethereum. So that's the thing. Maybe one day they won't be as dependent, but they depend on Ethereum's success. So that's the best way to think about it. All right, let's call it a day. Overall today, Coinbase turned red. Overall today, well, now the whole market turned red. Kind of iffy today. U.S. market's kind of iffy. Don't know what to think, right? We got some good data, bad data, some so-so data, and some talks about quantitative easing once again. And if there's a major injection, that will definitely cause a major Bitcoin move. And many people think that it could actually happen again. And long-term inflation and distrust in the government and banks, that's going to cause a major move for Bitcoin too, as more and more people get fed up and just move to Bitcoin. So good things are coming, guys. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right. Have a good one, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.